Hi, I'm Kathy Lindsay, and welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 program allows you, the viewers, to hear directly from our candidates. We have gathered questions from the community, and now we get to hear what our candidates think about topics that are important to us. And this is all leading up to the primary election, which is on May 17th. We're lucky today because we have Katie Hedden. And she is running for magistrate of the 3rd District. First District, sorry. She's running for magistrate of the 1st District. Let's start out, Katie. First of all, I want to say welcome.
Thank you so much.
And
great to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank
absolutely.
you, Plant Board, for all that you do here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I will say, we've been joking. I might call you Kelly because you have a twin, Kelly, that I know. And
yes.
It's just, so Katie.
Yes, Katie. I do have a twin sister. One way that you can tell us apart is I'm allergic to metal. She wears earrings.
Oh,
yeah.
Good call.
So if you're out
on
the street and
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
Second thing, I'm left-handed. She's right-handed. We're identical mirror twins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's Katie Hedden, and she's running for the 1st District magistrate. So anyway, now we know a little bit about you. Tell us more. Tell us about yourself and a little bit of experience that you have and why you've chosen to run at this time.
All right. Yeah. So I'm Katie Flynn Hedden. I live in the 1st District. I have, since my adult life, has almost always lived in the 1st District. I was a former city commissioner living in South Frankfort. We were living in a duplex at the time. A house came on the market, and my husband and I fell in love with it. We didn't even know we were approved. We put a bid on it, and we got the house, and I had to step down from the city commission. We moved to the county, and we love it there. So my husband and I are both vested in this community. I'm a physical therapist assistant for 18 years. I work with Compass Physical Therapy right now. Formerly worked with the Franklin County Health Department until they had a shutdown last June. Financial reasons and stuff that they closed down the physical therapy, home health aspect of it. My husband owns a small business downtown, Buddy's Pizza. I got twin daughters as well. Yeah. So twins are just in the family.
Hey.
My daughters are 14. They go to Frankfort High School, which is really cool to say. And I don't know any other families there yet. I think there's a couple family names that are pretty close to it, but they're the 5th generation to be at Frankfort High School.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so my family's been here for a while, going back to the Jets. My grandfather was actually county judge before it became county judge executive.
Okay.
And what else? I went to college in St. Augustine, Florida, where I graduated with a degree in sport management and fitness management. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'd like to emphasize the point that I studied facility design management for 4 years. Facility design management of recreational facilities, pro sport facilities, and I'm an avid tennis player. A lot of people know that. I actually also help with the Frankfort High tennis team right now. When I lost my job with the Frankfort Health Department before Compass opened, I had a little gap of time. And in that time, I thought, let's get back to the community. You know, I love every coach that ever coached me. And I think that it's important to remember to give back to the community. So I took some time, I had some time, and I said, let's see what happens. I got 42 kids signed up with tennis lessons. I didn't have a chance to breathe.
Yeah.
I love every single one of these kids, and the fact that they didn't want to leave the court, giving them something to do during the pandemic where it's space related. They learned something new. They're not on a tablet. They're not sitting at home. Mm-hmm. Parents were getting involved. They're starting to play. And it's just a beautiful process to give back to the community in that aspect. So I just want to point out too, with that, as an avid tennis player, I play in Lexington and Louisville. I'm the president of the Frankfort Tennis Association right now. Mm-hmm. I've made points to prove that we lack proper tennis courts in this area. We need indoor courts in this area. But that's something I love. That's not everyone in the community that loves that.
Yeah.
But the point to make with the tennis courts is that we have a maintenance problem.
Okay.
We don't take care of what we have once we get it. And then it becomes an issue and things become costly because you haven't taken care of it in the time that you've had it.
Yeah. Okay, so that is obviously a reason why you're running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So inevitably, serving on the fiscal court, you're going to
Yes.
have organizations come to you asking for money
Yes.
because there's a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Everybody has projects.
Yeah.
And there's, the homeless needs, humane society, the schools, broadband expansion, you name it. So how will you, if elected, how will you handle those requests? And then what are your priorities as far as investments in our community?
Well, we also got to figure out the investments that we put into this community, what do they also bring back to us? Right? There's a lot to be said for the arts district and making sure people are coming into our town and spending money here and supporting our local restaurants. And people who have vested, again, into this community, their heart and soul to try to provide a service, right? So if there's people who are coming in and spending money, awesome. Let's support that. There's a lot of mental health stuff that's also going on in our community too, especially post a pandemic. And if you look back in the span of time, right, every 100 years there's a pandemic that happens. And what happens after that pandemic, right? What happens to society after that pandemic? There's things going on in the other part of the world of a war.
Yeah.
Attacking. We need to be careful what we spend our money on and how and what we bring to the table. Because resources might be very short here very soon.
Okay. Well, since you have brought that up, that kind of leads me into the next question again with the, we're post-COVID, economic uncertainty, global uncertainty. We really need to bring it in.
Yeah.
So, this is the question we get all the time. So is it time to revisit the possibility of a merged form of government in order to be more efficient?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything against looking at that again.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said, especially when you look at the Lakeview Park Plan. Why don't we have one park system? 10 years ago, when I was on the city commission, we tried to look at forming one park system. However, I was the only elected official who showed up at the table.
Yeah.
No one else showed up besides the county judge at that time. And, it was just kind of like, we don't need to do that. It's not what we need to do. We already voted on that.
Right.
Things shift in life.
Right.
Currents move, continuously move.
Okay. So even if, say, there wasn't enough support for a complete merger, so it is just merging the Parks Department something that you would, consider? Support?
Why not? They fight for the same grants. They're fighting for the same money from the same people to provide the same similar service in one community.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of Lakeview,
Yeah.
what do you think about that plan?
Yeah. There's many angles I could go with this.
Okay.
The main angle that I want to shift to is that if elected, I'm against any tax raises. It's hard enough already.
Yeah.
Everyone lives on a balanced budget. Everyone. I don't care if you're making $1 million a year, if you're making $18,000 a year. Everyone's on a budget. And the last thing we need, if we're trying to promote growth, is to tax us even harder, right? And if we're going to build a facility,
That's not cheap.
it's not cheap. It needs $14,000 a day in revenue to pay for it. $14,000 a day.
Yeah.
And if you're going to build this facility with generic flooring, sanctioned events are not going to play on generic flooring. You have got to have the specific needs of every sport that you expect to bring here to play there. If you have generic flooring, it's not a sanctioned event. They're not going to come here, and you're not going to get their money that you think you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to have every sport-specific surface set up.
How are we going to pay for it? If you're on the fiscal court, what are you going to suggest?
My personal opinion, having a degree and studying this stuff for 4 years, let's let the people vote.
Yeah.
Put it on the ballot. Let them vote if they want this facility,
Yeah.
right? And if it is this facility, the county can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I don't see how it's possible that they can
Right.
really fiscally responsible
Yeah.
do this alone without collaboration.
Obviously, you have some experience and you've talked about the needs. So, but in addition to, you mentioned tennis, what do you see as what our community's needs are for a park?
Well, that's also a park. 10 years ago,
Yeah.
when I met to merge the park department, we had also had Swim Play Frankfurt was going on. Mm-hmm. We needed land to try to figure out, where's this park going to go?
Yeah.
Like, where can that be built? We looked at Lakeview Park. Lakeview Park, actually, at the time, was what I was told, there's no infrastructure there because it's a park. It was deeded as a park. It wasn't deeded as a place to have a facility built. Mm-hmm. It could not have a facility built on it. 10 years ago. I mean, I don't know, things have changed. You can go with eminent domain. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But there's also restrictions based on the neighborhood associations that allowed for the fair to come in for a noise ordinance 1 week every year, and that was it.
Okay.
So I don't know where we stand with that deed of the land. That land was deeded as a park. It wasn't deeded as a place to build facilities.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not privy to know that information.
Yeah.
I'm not at that table.
Right.
So.
Right. So let me ask you this. Do you consider yourself a pro-growth candidate? I mean, we have all of, the candidates coming in, everybody's talking about how we need to grow.
Yeah.
So are you pro-growth?
We haven't grown in 40 years. Everyone talks
Why is
about,
that?
yeah, everyone talks about, oh, we need this, we need that. Obviously, people in the community don't want the growth, mm-hmm. right? But there is also a generation that's coming in with generations, sadly, that are leaving, passing away or selling their land. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, I always think of Forrest Gump, right? When he's running and all of a sudden he stops. Mm-hmm. I just don't feel like running anymore. Right?
Right.
I think there's a time in our human essence that we say, I just don't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And if the property's right and they can sell it, their property, and if they want to sell their property, who am I to say, stop what you're doing? Mm-hmm. So that goes to planning and zoning sometimes.
Yeah.
And what they want to develop.
Right.
And then we have what is also happening out in Peaks Mill.
So, well, I was getting to that. Funny you should mention. So we do have some development projects in front of planning and zoning, which eventually, they're going to be in front of the fiscal court. Then we've got one in front of the city commission.
And then that's when we ask, who do you want to be your neighbor?
Right. So we can speak specifically about Buffalo Trace right now, but I do want to go on. If for those who don't know, Buffalo Trace has proposed expanding into the Peaks Mill area with some bourbon warehouses. So are you in support of Buffalo Trace placing warehouses, building warehouses in areas that are currently zoned agricultural and rural residential?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where I stand on that. Let me be clear on that.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at both sides of everything that I've kind of been able to read in the paper or online,
right?
Based on both groups, that kind of pro and against, and trying to figure out where that is. But again, if someone has a property and they want to sell it, who do you want to be your neighbor?
Right.
So if I had a bunch of land and I was ready to be done and I stop in the middle of the road and I'm done and I want to sell it and I'm going to subdivide it, or Buffalo Trace has the opportunity to come in, I know that Buffalo Trace takes care of their property. I'm not saying it's right or wrong for it to be located where this property is, but they do take care of their neighbors.
As a member of the fiscal court, you'll hear sides.
Yeah.
You'll hear all opinions.
Yes.
So.
Bring it. I want to hear it, because the more educated as an elected official I can be, the better sound vote and clarity of a vote I can sleep with at night.
We've had questions submitted about this, and that people want to know, are there things that would make you decide one way or the other, as far as they're talking about proximity to the school, again, from other people in that area are totally strongly against it. Does that sway how you think about things?
Yeah, and there's lots of people in that area who are strongly for it.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's both angles that are coming in.
Yeah.
And as an elected official, you have to weigh in what's the best for that community. And if planning and zoning doesn't pass it to go through, And I don't know where they stand on that right now. I don't know where it is.
Right.
If that has even been voted on by planning and zoning yet. So forgive me if something's gone through.
Yeah. Recently tabled.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And if planning and zoning doesn't pass it, then it won't make it that far, is my understanding.
Yeah. And kind of in the same vein, obviously, in addition to Buffalo Trace, we've had the rezoning of Duncan Road, out there, and then now the city's, looking at developing the paddocks, which is out I-64 and 127. That some people consider that sprawl, and have reasons to be against that. So some people would say that it boils down to, as far as what is considered progress or development versus preservation. So as a magistrate on the fiscal court, what would you think is more important?
I work very closely with seniors. I really want a place for people to grow old and not feel like they are in an apartment. I want a place where if we're going to develop something, it's a place that you want to live too, right? Like a place I want to live, a place where you want your mother and your father and your aunts and your grandparents to know that they have recreational aspects somewhere within that facility, wherever they're going to be living, and that it's comfortable and that it's pretty and it's just not cookie cutter, right? So that's not necessarily preservation of a building, but preservation of life. Quality of life, and how things get developed and how they're presented. It's very important to me to see that, as we retire, again, you want to sell your property of 200 acres and you're done. Are you going to still retire in Franklin County, or are you moving out? Are you going somewhere else? Why not want to have that mindset that we want to retire here too? People aren't having as many kids anymore. When you look at census polls, very few generations are growing at all. Seniors are growing.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want to make sure that they're growing here and that we have a place for them that's comfortable and a place that they want to be, which is here.
Okay.
And the resources here for them.
What does the term smart growth mean to you?
Good question. I think it's a made-up word. I think it's a made-up kind of phrase that people like to tack on to stuff. Growth is growth. And if you want to label it as smart growth or failed opportunities to try to grow something, I mean, growth is what it is. I mean, something, you're going to get a plant and you're going to take care of it or you're not going to take care of it. It's going to grow or it's going to die.
So if going back to, just as an example, the paddocks development that is being suggested, again, some people have issue that it should be considered sprawl because it's on the outskirts of town, and there's other places within the city, empty storefronts, shopping centers. So why can't we use the areas that we have that are empty? So as a magistrate, what are some things you would do to address the infill situation that we need here?
Yeah, why not?
Or is that important to you?
Yeah, of course it is. The hard thing, though, with the empty buildings is who owns it, what do they want to sell it for, what are they going to give up for it? Who's going to buy it? Who's going to take over? Right? So we have one library downtown, and I love it. But I do have seen other communities that have multiple libraries, multiple resources throughout the community for people to be able to go to. I'm not saying it has to be a library, but just as an example. Educational centers for people to go and to be able to maybe have an off-site kind of schooling. I would love to see that. And I think something like that might be happening in the old Hex building. Where we teach people carpentry skills, electrician skills, plumbing skills, trade school type stuff. So when you get to a certain age, you can start a career or a career path to help bring income I'm always baffled by the idea that someone can go to graduate 18 years old and get a $400,000 student loan debt, but can't get a $40,000 loan to open a business. I would love to see an incentive, something happen where we support people who want to open a business, invest in themselves, invest in our community, and we, in return, invest in them because of what they want to provide.
Yeah.
And to me, that's smart growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good because that's leads into my next question.
Oh yeah,
which is
just jumping right into it.
Tell ya. But you know, and your husband owns a business downtown, and so you're all familiar with the the business community here in Frankfort. So, what do you see are the top concerns among our business community as far as here in Franklin County are things that the fiscal court could address?
That the fiscal court can address. I can tell you one of the main things that's really hard right now is staffing.
Yeah.
That we can't control the price of product. Right? I don't necessarily believe it's inflation that's happening, but prices are continuing to go up on everything.
Right.
How can a small business continue to afford and provide a service to you when they can't even afford the cost of what products are coming in at? Right? Meat prices. The cow hasn't changed,
Yeah.
but the price of the meat has changed.
Right. So what can our local government do to especially address the workforce issue? Because that was another question that I had. Since the pandemic, especially, we're going to bring in these new businesses, but are they going to be able to find people to work there?
Yeah, it's really hard to find the staffing and retain the staffing.
Yeah.
So again, maybe having some sort of outlet of a place where we can train individuals to work different things and to be there and provide it. And again, give back so that they want to give, and we want the continued current of giving and receiving happens between the business owner, the employee, the citizen, and that everyone again kind of supports each other and grows together.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you define economic development?
So, let's see. Economic development, let me think about this for a second.
Okay.
All right. So we're looking at the idea of money developing within our community economically. So how do we generate revenues? Right? How do we make sure that people who haven't gotten a raise in 10 years are able to get a raise in this community? How do we support that? Everyone's been able, again, the cost of everything else is going up.
Right.
Your wages staying the same.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know the answer
to
that, but I'm willing to have conversations and communications, and if it's incentive programs or working with other communities to collaborate resources to figure out how do we help our employed?
Right. Are you familiar with KCDC, the Kentucky Capital Development Corporation?
I remember it when I was on the commission, but to be clearly, like, I haven't really paid much attention.
Okay. I know that the fiscal court does provide funding for that. Is that something that you would continue to support if you were on fiscal court as far as their role in economic development here in our community?
Maybe. I mean, I really have to look into it a little more. I mean, there was always questions and concerns. I think, like, what are they really bringing to the table to help our economic development? And again, growth hasn't really happened in like 40 years. Like, when you watch paneling, they've asked the same questions. Like when you're on that panel and all this, it's the same questions for like 40 years in a row.
Yeah.
Are they helping?
Well, I mean, again, and that's a question that I've had, and again, we've had candidates in here and both newcomers and incumbents, and that we hear about all the planning and the master planning and the comprehensive plan and strategic planning. And planning is important. It is. I will not take that away from anything. But at some point there has to be action.
Yes.
So what actions do we need? What action needs to happen to move us forward?
Maybe we just tell them go. Do it.
Yeah.
You have it.
Yeah.
And as a fiscal court,
Yeah.
maybe there's enough votes that would say, we support you.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Get it done. See if it works.
Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to our last segment because you're getting ready to have your time in the spotlight.
Okay.
So, I will ask you, do you think the fiscal court currently now, it's public government, do you think they are transparent, adequately transparent?
No.
You don't?
No.
Specifically?
The reason I'm running is because they're not transparent. As my understanding, there's backdoor meetings that are being met. As a magistrate, you only have any sort of say-so when you're in a meeting or when you're on a committee. There's no reason to think that you have any sort of power to do anything besides what's on the agenda. Or to, if you want something on the agenda, put it on the agenda. Talk about it. I never want to hide anything from anybody. I want to be as transparent as can be. But if you feel like you have to hide stuff with backdoor meetings that you're trying to have somewhere, what are you hiding? Why can't you talk about it? Are you trying to bully up to somebody? You know, my father recently passed, and one of my last conversations I had with him was about running for office. And in that conversation, he said, "Do you think you can win?" And I said, "Dad, I want to win. The ultimate goal isn't about the win, though. The ultimate goal is to provide a voice, to provide 2 ears and 1 mouth, to listen and then represent what it is the community wants done. It's not my agenda. Put myself to the side. And let's think about, how do I retain my seniors that want to live here? How do I make their quality of life better? How do we retain staff? How do we retain the fact that I don't know if my kids are going to want to grow up in Franklin County?" I'm generations deep in this county.
Right.
I would hate to see my children not come back.
Yeah.
But it might happen. So, you want me to close?
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to give you your chance. Yeah. Look into the camera.
Yeah.
Talk to the voters and tell them why they need to vote for you on May 17th.
I think the question it comes down to is, why not vote for me? I'm transparent. I'm honest. I want what's best for you. I want giant projects that are going to be placed within our community on a ballot. I don't want it based on what 3% of the population in this county wants. I want it based on what we want. This is my home. I love this place. I love Franklin County. When I was 18 years old, you could have asked me something different. I would have said, "I'm never moving back here. I'm never coming back." When you're 18, the only thing that can stop you is God. God brought me back home. I met my husband. We're vested in this community. We wanted our children to know their grandparents, and they have. And I ask for your vote on May 17th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Katie Hedden. She is running for magistrate in the 1st District. Again, we appreciate your time. The viewers love hearing from the candidates and again, talking about things that are important to all of us here in this community. I want to remind our viewers to go out and vote on May 17th and then tune in to Cable 10 for the live election returns. It's election season again, so it's time to get informed. Let's do it, people. And then go voice your choice. We'll see you next time.